So I was recently browsing the internet and I saw like this recommendation for YouTube short, and it said massive leak and something about the next Ghost Recon game. And it has this AI generated background picture and an exaggerated title. And it has 1.1 million views. So I checked it out, and apparently there are some leaks about the next Ghost Recon game, but they're not big or something super sensational. And I went to Grok and read a summary of it. Okay, so let's read the summary together. So I'm only going to talk about the important stuff. So gameplay perspective. Unlike the recent third-person entries, Wildlands and Breakpoint, the game is set to return to a first-person perspective. I haven't played in a while. I forgot all the keybinds. Come on.
Reload! Contact! I got hostiles!
Roger that. Let's take them out.
This happens when you play in the highest difficulty level with most of the HUD turned off. Okay, so let's try again. I think I'll keep this in the video. Because it's amazing. The amazing thing about Breakpoint is that it can be some casual like game, or it can be some ultra hardcore game. Okay, so let's what was it? Okay, gameplay perspective, first person perspective, marking a shift back to the franchise's earlier roots. It's described as a squad-based military tactical shooter with build-sim-like approach. Now, this worries me because I actually like that third-person thing, because if you look at Breakpoint, it's basically an open-world Splinter Cell stealth game that seamlessly blends into a gunfight simulator with the same precision of animations that you get from a Splinter Cell game. And some of the older gamers who watch this right now, if you're at least in your 30s, you probably may appreciate the old Splinter Cell games, like the really old ones from the early 2000s. And that's something this game never got credit for, how much of a great stealth game it actually is, while being open world. And if you play in highest difficulty settings, if you make one mistake in the stealth, like the whole area comes down on you and it turns into a really hard tactical shooter. With really good AI, but I'll talk about this in another video. So here's a problem with, if they skip that really nice perspective with this well-animated character for first person, I think the game would lose a lot of it because, first of all, you lose some of the enjoyment of just dressing up a character for the environment. And there's just something about the fluidity of just watching your own character in a well-animated Ubisoft game move around. That's something special that Ubisoft, I think, does the best out of, I think, every other game developer. And so if it's first person, it could work, because there have been some Ghost Recon games, really old ones, 20 years old by now, that were FPS games, but they didn't have that amazing third-person stuff that you see here. And the other thing that worries me about this is that, it's the wrong key, is that I'm worried about the developers having changed the setting, because I think Breakpoint didn't sell as well as they would have expected, and they're probably looking for something to change the game. And I think it's a bad mistake. And I think most of the damage that came to the sales of Breakpoint came from, I think, some gaming review sites messing up really bad, and some of the rage bait YouTubers who keep amplifying hate about Ubisoft even back then in 2019, just to get clicks, which distorts the information that a developer gets from his customers, because the customer normally plays a game and tells the developers in some way that, or on Reddit or some forum, what they don't like, what they like, what they don't like. And if there's like in the center, there's like this costly middleman of YouTubers who amplify bad news to get more clicks, and that distorts the information flow between developer and player. And the developer might get the wrong feedback from that, or the sort of feedback, and make bad decisions for the next game. And one of those bad decisions might be that it's first person. Because I think the only problem this game had was that it's too gray. Like even during sunshine, it's always slightly overcast on this map. And in Wildlands, it was always sunny or rainy. There was more contrast in the screen. And this kind of thing about this game, it's actually, in terms of content, gameplay, and visual quality, it's way better than Ghost Recon Wildlands. And Ghost Recon Wildlands was a fantastically looking game. Like if you look at it, like Ubisoft is usually 5 to 6, 7 years ahead in visual quality of any other game developer, except maybe like Activision, like the Call of Duty developers. And this game, this went underappreciated because there's always like this slightly overcast weather, which gives the game this gray filter to it. And a lot of players actually didn't like the story of the game. Oh, not again. And didn't like the story of the game because it was too sterile with the drones and weird characters with the raincoats. The thing is, it was a bit more sterile than Wildlands. But the thing is, in some ways it was more realistic because the individual stories of the different characters, they're actually pretty amazing and have a lot of emotional depth. For example, the tech billionaire, I think his name is Skell. At the beginning he's like this, presented as this weird snobbish tech billionaire. But during the game there's some interesting emotional depth being revealed about him. And the same about the character played by John Bernthal, which name I forgot. He's not present in the game for long, like early in the game he disappears. And the overarching story is not that interesting, but the underlying emotional depth of the character is actually pretty amazing. And I think that gets lost in all the feedback that players give the game because they don't analyze what they exactly don't like in the game. So if, for example, players don't like something in the game, like a certain part of the story, like the feedback is like, how to say it, it's like pixelated. It's too coarse. The players need to analyze the feedback more to give the developers more accurate feedback of what they want and what they don't want. Okay, let's go back to the leak thing. Inspiration in graphics. The game reportedly takes inspiration from leading first-person military shooters like Modern Warfare, Battlefield, Squad, and Ready or Not. Graphically, it's said to resemble Ready or Not with significant visual improvements over past Ghost Recon titles. But it's a formulation by Grok, by the AI engine, from different articles. And here's what irritates me. Why is Squad and Ready or Not mentioned in leading first-person military shooters? Like in terms of graphics, those games are far below anything Ubisoft can do. And Ready or Not looks partially great, but that's mostly the Unreal Engine to it. And as I mentioned earlier, Ubisoft games are usually 5 to 6 years ahead of AAA competitors in terms of graphics, and look at the animation fidelity. Notice how the character is leaning into the slope. And the release window is supposed to be 2025, 2026. So I think I just gotta stop. Look how beautiful this is. See that? Like the way the daylight comes in that stripe, and the way the sunlight reflects off the leaves. Okay, so I think it's gonna be good, but I'm seriously worried about it being first person. Because then it loses that Splinter Cell sneaking around animation quality. I mean, it's still going to have animation quality, but I feel that the developers listen to too much inaccurate feedback on what players really want. Because what players really love them, even in Wildlands, it's that highly detailed third-person character you can see move around like that. And especially dressing up your character. And you can observe your character with the clothing on like that.